This segment sponsored by Foster Financial. Welcome to Money Monday with Foster Financial, and today we're talking about reducing risk as we draw near to retirement. And Caleb Doane, their Vice President, will break it all down. Hey there, Caleb.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so of course we talk a lot about retirement and how people can prep and plan and all of that. But today we're going to discuss what people should do as far as being risky, closer to the retirement age.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is probably top of mind for a lot of people, especially with some of the big market fluctuations that we've seen even so far this year. So there's been big down days, there's been really big up days, and people are thinking, hey, I'm not sure if I want to see that much fluctuation in my account the closer I get to retirement. Most of the time, people kind of understand that rule of thumb that you should generally get a little bit more conservative in your investments the closer that you get to retirement. But that's not always the best rule of thumb. It doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. Usually we'll get the question of, well, how conservative or how risky should I be in my investments? And usually we'll walk the clients through a certain methodology that we have at Foster Financial. We'll usually keep 3 to 5 years worth of anticipated withdrawals in conservative assets at a minimum in the account. So, I mean, if somebody's got $1 million in their IRA and they're withdrawing $50,000 a year, maybe we'll keep at a minimum $250,000 conservative, so 25% of the account. That's usually what we start with, and so that would mean that about 75% of the account is in equities and more growth-oriented assets, 25% is in bonds, more conservative assets.
Okay.
But even that level might feel a little bit too risky to the client. So even at that level, you'll still certainly see some fluctuations in the account. And so we can start to dial back the risk to the client's comfort level. Because of course, we want there to be a methodology around how risky, but we also want the client to be able to sleep at night. So even if we have a sufficient amount set aside, if the fluctuations in the account are too much, we want to make sure that we dial it back a little bit for the client to make sure that their comfort level is achieved there too. There are plenty of people in retirement. It's certainly not the norm, but there are certainly folks who aren't needing to take really any withdrawals from
That's what I was wondering, because you say 25% would go, like 25% conservative for the withdrawal, right? I mean, like 3 to 5 years of withdrawals. If people don't take withdrawals, is it just all up for risk?
You could, yeah. I'd say if people don't need to take any withdrawals, then kind of the acceptable range of risk is a lot wider at that point. Because there are folks that, between, let's say, a pension and Social Security, maybe they have a part-time job too in retirement. They're really not touching their investment assets at all. They're just living off of that current income that's coming in. And so typically in that scenario, you could have the ability to be almost as aggressive or as conservative as what your risk preference allows, because on the aggressive side, if you were fully aggressive and the stock market dropped 15% in 1 year, well, it wouldn't prevent you from being able to live your normal lifestyle because you're not taking money from the accounts anyways. You could just, wait for a recovery and allow that to happen. But the same could be said on the conservative side. If you're not needing to take withdrawals, you could also be very conservative because you're not necessarily needing the money to generate 10% returns every single year in order for you to live your lifestyle in retirement. So if you were fully conservative and you got 4.5% in a CD, that could be very sufficient, and maybe you want that principal protection on the downside. So that acceptable range gets a lot wider the fewer withdrawals that you need to take.
Yeah. And then at what age should someone start thinking about this? I mean, thinking about transitioning their assets to more conservative from the risky. Would this be when they're entering into retirement or before?
Yeah, even before. Because I mean, while somebody's still investing in their 401k and working, if you're 45 years old and contributing to your 401k account, there's a certain amount of risk that you're taking on in that 401k. And so we want to make sure that, we're not just allowing a certain target date fund, let's say, to decide how risky my 401k is. Oftentimes people are just defaulted into a certain fund in their 401k. We want to put a little bit more thought and structure and framework behind it to say, what are your specific goals, and then how risky or how conservative should your 401k be to achieve those goals. But then certainly, the closer that somebody gets to retirement, maybe even the more important it is to take a look at that risk.
Yeah, and when you work with your clients, how frequently do you meet with them? Like is it once a year to reevaluate their financial plan?
Yeah, even more often than that. Yeah, oftentimes, it depends on the complexity of the financial plan. There are folks that we meet with quarterly.
Yeah.
So it just depends on how complex the financial plan is. That'll help determine how often that we check in with them. But usually at the very least twice a year is the touch points that we have with clients. And we'll update, we have like a risk quiz that we have the clients take. We'll update that periodically as well, just to make sure that how they think about risk and their comfort level with it hasn't changed. Because it's not uncommon for that to change over the course of retirement, and we want to make sure that we're staying up to date on that.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you.
And if you would like more information about Foster Financial, we'll have their website and their phone number listed below. Remember, they do offer complimentary consultations. And I'll see you after the break. This segment sponsored by Foster Financial.